Hello friends. I came across several mails from many of guys asking for quick revision audio or short summary of particular topic for the quick revisions. Well, that's why we came with a new series where we will be discussing only on short summary, which comprises of all keywords and keynotes of that topic. I advised you to listen this several times, to get the real essence of it. That's important. Getting the essence make you more comfortable in giving your best at exam point. So let's start with our first lecture on Indian philosophy. Basically, Indian philosophy is broadly divided into two main parts, that is, Orthodox and unorthodox school of philosophy. Basically, Orthodox who believes in Vedas and unorthodox don't believe in Vedas. So let's proceed. Indian philosophy, or, in Sanskrit, darshanas, refers to any of several traditions of philosophical thought that originated in the Indian subcontinent, including Hindu philosophy, Buddhist philosophy, and Jain philosophy. See below for brief introductions to these schools. It is considered by Indian thinkers to be a practical discipline, and its goal should always be to improve human life. First is Orthodox, Hindu, schools. The main Hindu Orthodox, Astika, schools of Indian philosophy are those codified during the medieval period of Brahmanic Sanskritic scholasticism, and they take the ancient Vedas, the oldest sacred texts of Hinduism, as their source and scriptural authority. The first one is Samkaya. Samkaya is the oldest of the orthodox philosophical systems, and it postulates that everything in reality stems from Purusha, self or soul or mind, and Prakriti, matter, creative agency, energy. It is a dualist philosophy, although between the self and matter rather than between mind and body as in the Western dualist tradition, and liberation occurs with the realization that the soul and the dispositions of matter, steadiness, activity and dullness, are different. The second one is Yoga. The Yoga school, as expanded by Patanjali in his 2nd century BC Yoga Sutras, accepts the Samkhya psychology and metaphysics, but is more theistic, with the addition of a divine entity to Samkhya's 25 elements of reality. The relatively brief Yoga Sutras are divided into 8 Ashtanga, limbs, reminiscent of Buddhism's Noble Eightfold Path, the goal being to quiet one's mind and achieve kaivalya, solitariness or detachment. The third one is Nyaya. The Nyaya school is based on the Nyaya Sutras, written by Aksapada Gautama in the 2nd century BC. Its methodology is based on a system of logic that has subsequently been adopted by the majority of the Indian schools, in much the same way as Aristotelian logic has influenced Western philosophy. Its followers believe that obtaining valid knowledge, the 4 sources of which are perception, inference, comparison and testimony, is the only way to gain release from suffering. Nyaya developed several criteria by which the knowledge thus obtained was to be considered valid or invalid, equivalent in some ways to Western analytic philosophy. The fourth one is Vishakha. The Vishakha school was founded by Kanada in the 6th century BC, and it is atomist and pluralist in nature. The basis of the school's philosophy is that all objects in the physical universe are reducible to a finite number of atoms, and Brahman is regarded as the fundamental force that causes consciousness in these atoms. The Vishakha and Nyaya schools eventually merged because of their closely related metaphysical theories, although Vishakha only accepted perception and inference as sources of valid knowledge. The fifth one is Purvamamsa. The main objective of the Purvamamsa school is to interpret and establish the authority of the Vedas. It requires unquestionable faith in the Vedas and the regular performance of the Vedic fire sacrifices to sustain all the activity of the universe. Although in general the Mimamsa accept the logical and philosophical teachings of the other schools, They insist that salvation can only be attained by acting in accordance with the prescriptions of the Vedas. The school later shifted its views and began to teach the doctrines of Brahman and freedom, allowing for the release or escape of the soul from its constraints through enlightened activity. The sixth one is school of Vedanta. The Vedanta, or Uttaramimamsa, school concentrates on the philosophical teachings of the Upanishads, mystic or spiritual contemplations within the Vedas, rather than the Brahmanas, instructions for ritual and sacrifice. The Vedanta focus on meditation, self-discipline and spiritual connectivity, more than traditional ritualism. Due to the rather cryptic and poetic nature of the Vedanta Sutras, the school separated into 6 sub-schools, each interpreting the texts in its own way and producing its own series of sub-commentaries. Advaita, the best known, which holds that the soul and Brahman are one and the same; Visishtadvaita, which teaches that the Supreme Being has a definite form, name, Vishnu, and attributes; Dvaita, which espouses a belief in 3 separate realities, Vishnu, and eternal soul and matter; Vaitadvaita, which hold that Brahman exists independently, while soul and matter are dependent; Shuddhadvaita, which believes that Krishna is the absolute form of Brahman; and Asadhyabedhuabeda, which combines monism and dualism by stating that the soul is both distinct and non-distinct from Krishna, or God. The next school of thought is Heterodox, non-Hindu, or unorthodox schools. The main heterodox, Nastika, schools, which do not accept the authority of the Vedas, include. The first one is Carvaka. Also known as Lokyata, Carvaka is a materialistic, skeptical and atheistic school of thought. Its founder was Carvaka, author of the Bahaspatya Sutras in the final centuries BC, although the original texts have been lost and our understanding of them is based largely on criticism of the ideas by other schools. As early as the 5th century, Sadaniti and Buddhaghosa connected the Lokyatas with the Vedantas, or sophists, and the term Carvaka was first recorded in the 7th century by the philosopher Puranara, and in the 8th century by Kamilasla and Haribhadra. As a vital philosophical school, Carvaka appears to have died out sometime in the 15th century. The second one is Buddhist philosophy. Buddhism is a non-theistic system of beliefs based on the teachings of Siddhartha Gautama, an Indian prince later known as the Buddha. In the 5th century BC, the question of God is largely irrelevant in Buddhism, and it is mainly founded on the rejection of certain orthodox Hindu philosophical concepts, although it does share some philosophical views with Hinduism, such as belief in karma. Buddhism advocates a noble eightfold path to end suffering, and its philosophical principles are known as the Four Noble Truths: the nature of suffering, the origin of suffering, the cessation of suffering, and the path leading to the cessation of suffering. Buddhist philosophy deals extensively with problems in metaphysics, phenomenology, ethics and epistemology. The third one is Jain philosophy. The central tenets of Jain philosophy were established by Mahavira in the 6th century BC, although Jainism as a religion is much older. A basic principle is anikantavada, the idea that reality is perceived differently from different points of view, and that no single point of view is completely true, similar to the Western philosophical doctrine of subjectivism. According to Jainism, only Kavalis, those who have infinite knowledge, can know the true answer, and that all others would only know a part of the answer. It stresses spiritual independence and the equality of all life, with particular emphasis on non-violence, and posits self-control as vital for attaining the realization of the soul's true nature. Jain belief emphasizes the immediate consequences of one's behavior. The fourth one is Aurobindo philosophy or Indian political philosophy. Here you may have to read from ancient to modern. Many events in present have to deal with the reference from the past. That is the main reason why we need to go through the history. But everything is there in the syllabus. No need to go through with the notion of anything under the sky. So here the things we should study is the Arthashastra, attributed to the Mauryan minister Chanakya in the 4th century BC, is one of the earliest Indian texts devoted to political philosophy, and it discusses ideas of statecraft and economic policy. During the Indian struggle for independence in the early 20th century, Mahatma Gandhi popularized the philosophies of ahimsa, non-violence, and satyagraha, non-violent resistance, which were influenced by the teachings of the Hindu Bhagavad Gita, as well as Jesus, Tolstoy, Thoreau, and Ruskin. This is all about Indian philosophy. Hope you like our short summary quick revision audio series. Press the like button and share with your friends. Clear your doubts, comment below your demand. Write us at our email. For more such videos, kindly press the subscribe button and press the bell icon to get all updates. Thank you.